What's up? What's up? Haha, happy Wednesday, everybody. Beautiful, beautiful day out. They're redoing the street outside of my office, so hopefully there's not too much background noise. But man, what a weekend. All-time high, man. 123,000. And I don't even think the market's overheated yet, right? You would think at these levels that it's at, but I don't even think, I don't know. So what an amazing, interesting time to be alive. And, so I was thinking about the video that I made Friday where I was saying, don't focus on being right so much. Spend your time learning to not be poor and create better habits and studying and learning about investing and, creating better habits. And I saw this video on Monday from somebody that I follow. And man, I'll tell you, it was probably one of the best videos that they ever did. And it kind of inspired today's live stream, right? Where I'm actually going to play a little clip, which I never do, right? Almost like a reaction video, right? But, it just kind of like, I don't know, I thought it was a perfect follow-up to what I was talking about Friday. And, so it's no secret, right? Like I invest in disruptive assets, and I didn't just pull these things out of a hat, right? Like I had to learn about them somehow enough to be confident to invest, right? And I make these videos because I want to help others and share my journey and, whatever. If I can help somebody along the way, like that makes me happy, right? And that's why I do this, right? So, let's talk about what these assets are, and then we'll get into that video that I saw. We'll tie it to that and kind of, where you should be looking, right? Kind of different things like that. All right. So we know, Tesla, I'm a big Tesla guy, right? Tesla, completely disruptive company, right? They're an AI company that makes EVs right now. And you're seeing the shift, right? They're shifting from EVs to robotaxi, right? To Optimus bots. They have a huge energy business nobody even talks about. They're tying Grok into the cars today, which is crazy how they're tying that in. They're actually building their own chips. So like they buy billions of dollars of chips from NVIDIA. At some point, they're just going to disrupt NVIDIA's business. When your biggest customer manufactures your product, do they even need you anymore? So disruption of disruption, right? So it took me a long time to learn all this, and I'll show you kind of how you find this alpha, right? That's what it's called, alpha, right? You're looking for the data to give you an edge, right? That's how you win in investing. Okay, another disruptive asset, Bitcoin, right? We talk about Bitcoin all the time, disrupting global finance, disrupting the store of value narrative that gold and other hard assets have held for thousands of years, right? Blowing that up. Okay, Solana, another disruptive asset, another crypto, totally different angle. It's a fast blockchain, low cost transactions, perfect for Web3 and building things like that. Just totally transforming finance, payments, disrupting Visa and MasterCard, their stranglehold on merchants. All right, MicroStrategy. This one's interesting, right? MicroStrategy is another disruptive asset that I invest in. Originally, I bought it because it was Bitcoin on steroids, right? This is a couple of years ago. And man, I'll tell you, what they have done is just insane, right? They are literally like disrupting the insurance business, the global bond market, which is worth $300 trillion, right? What they're doing, they're taking Bitcoin and they're packaging it up into these products, right? So they have like these kind of substitutes for bonds and treasuries, STRD, STRK, and STRF. So those are like for corporate investors that can't buy stocks, that can't buy Bitcoin, right? They have to buy certain vehicles. And they've created these things backed by Bitcoin to totally disrupt that market. Totally not what I thought I was getting into when I invested in them, but man, like what a shift, what a growth. So, again, like disruption evolves. And again, none of this financial advice, pick your own stuff. But this is just, what I invest in. And then the key question is, how did I find these things, right? And finally, NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA is the backbone of AI computing today, right? They make the chips that power AI, right? So, if your goal is to do disruptive investing, if your goal is to, find these things, well, how do you find them, right? Because when you think back, where did we always go for finance news, right? A couple names come to mind: Wall Street Journal, CNBC, Bloomberg. You call your finance advisor, right? If you're part of Vanguard, you call that guy, a Fidelity guy. Maybe you got a local guy, and this is where we went to for information. And I'm going to show you right now, none of these sources are thinking that far out. They're looking at today and yesterday. When the world is changing so fast, and I talk about this all the time, and you're going to see in this clip I'm going to show you, it just hammers it home, right? Like where AI and the disruption is coming in, it's changing so quickly. And if you're relying on, like, look, this is CNBC right now. This is their homepage. Trump, Johnson and Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Netflix earnings. Oh, here's the thing about NVIDIA, but it's that he sold stock. So there's there's just a lot of I don't know, right? Wall Street Journal, oh, look, Google Cloud, but it's an advertisement. Another Trump article. There's nothing about, a farm about drone AI and robot pickers. I don't know. It's just it's a lot of noise. Jeffrey Epstein, Bloomberg. You can't even read Bloomberg because you need a subscription. It's $300 a year. What a waste of money. Business Insider. This one is hilarious. I used to think this was a good site 10 years ago. And now, I mean, look, Josh Allen's diet. I moved to Denver to be with my husband. We're still together, but I'm returning to New York alone. Business Insider. So if you're trying to find disruption and you're looking on these old sites, look at this, Fox Business, same thing. A lot of stuff, nothing really to do with what we're looking for, though. Nothing looking ahead, right? It's all about news. There's always an angle. I used to use this site a lot, Seeking Alpha, but it's a lot of analysts. And most analysts, they're not that good. And I'll leave it at that. And then finally, Bloomberg Terminal, right? That's the granddaddy, right? All the big finance guys, they use Bloomberg Terminal. And you can see the screen here where it's you see this in movies. It's $30,000 a year for this. So, if you're looking to the future and you're looking for disruption, you're not going to find it in those traditional places, right? If you want disruption, you got to find disruptive analysts. That's it. That's what it is. People who see the future before mainstream media even wakes up, right? The people that I follow, and that I look to, that I learn from, I feel like they're 2 to 3 years ahead of the curve, And again, these are all a thesis, right? We all have these theses, right? I have my thesis on Tesla, Bitcoin, Solana, these entities, companies, whatever, they have to deliver, but that's the fun part of investing, right? You're making a bet, and if you think they can deliver or not, and if you're right, you do very well. If you're wrong, well, then you're wrong, So where do I go to get my information, right? Where are my disruptive analysts? I would say you need 4 things right now. That's all you need, okay? And these 4 combined, used right, can beat everything I just showed you and give you more edge than any other thing out there, all right? Number 1, all right, get a Twitter account. Whether you like Elon or not, whether you love him, you hate him, who cares, right? Don't be right, just don't be poor, okay? Now, the key to Twitter is you got to curate your following tab, right? So the accounts that you follow, you got to dial that in. And if they start posting junk that doesn't matter, get rid of it. And then your For You is the algorithm feeding you what it thinks you want. So, I'll get new things there, but I generally, it's the following tab is where the alpha is, and you pick the right accounts and you get things in real time. And what's so interesting about Twitter is, everybody talks about equity and inclusion, and I think they use that wrong, right? This is equity and inclusion right here, right? This is where normal people like me and you, okay, I'm nobody. I'm just some dude on the internet in Massachusetts. You know what I mean? But with the right Twitter follows, I can get direct access in real time to the people and events that are shaping the world as they happen in real time. I was there, I know them. When in history did people like us ever have that level of access? It never existed, so use that, and then on this platform, there are analysts that are doing amazing things. And I'm going to share with you in a minute this video from one of the ones that I respect the most, a couple. There's 4 people in this video. All right. Now, with your X account, right, you can get a free account. That's the crazy thing. All these things are free, right? There are free tiers to this that you can use, and then you can pay for better access, right? Now, on top of X is Grok. Okay. Now you can use Chat GPT, you can use Claude, whatever, right? But use an AI, guys. Like take the things that you're learning, plug it into AI, and just ask questions, right? Like let it analyze stuff for you. And yes, it's not always right. Just like Googling things is not always right. Not everything you read on the internet is true. Okay. And AI falls under the same rules. Okay. But use the AI to analyze the things that you're reading and help you make decisions. Don't let it make decisions for you. Let it be a tool that you use to make decisions. So an X account and an AI account. Okay. Third, get a TradingView account. Okay. If you're at that level where you want to look at charts, you want to analyze things, you want to understand, just get a TradingView. They have a free tier. You can start with that. Every year around Black Friday or Thanksgiving, they do sales, right? So you can get a year like 50% off, but you plug your charts in, right? And you can set your analysis. The charts don't tell you what to invest in. The charts, you have to do your analysis. You got to go for your information and decide what you want. The charts help you time it, right? And then the last thing is a YouTube, right? Just go on YouTube and find the right people, and watch the content. And that's why I make this content. Like I want to give back. I want to, help others who, the same way that others help me. Hold on. I'm just trying to share my my next tab. Let me pull that up. All right. So, which brings us to, all right, the next part right here. All right. So those four things together, okay, are going to make you very powerful. They're going to put you ahead of the curve of most traditional financial advisors, most traditional media, everything. All right. So on YouTube, I follow Invest Answers. Great follow. YouTube and X. He has a Patreon. I've been watching this guy for years. I mean, I learned so much watching this guy's channel. And again, if you're watching a video and they're telling you what to buy, if they're selling you something, then that's a commercial, right? That's not what you're looking for. Okay. But if you're watching content and people are doing in-depth analysis and they're educating you and you're learning, and then through that analysis and that education, you can take that and make your own decisions. That's the win. That's what you're looking for. And these aren't the only people out there, right? Every Monday on Invest Answers channel, he does what's called DCA. So he brings in some people, and it's usually the same three people every week with him. You have Mando, guy's great, longtime investor, CTO Larson, the guy in the bottom, another guy who's been investing forever. He came from the telecom world. So he takes that stuff that he learned there and he helps you learn and apply it to crypto technologies. And then there's another guy, Marty Party, who's not on this one, but I follow him on X, a lot of great insights on tech and crypto. Remember, these guys know the people that are starting these companies, and they share this information. And on Twitter, you have spaces that you can, real time, almost like a conference call with these guys, and then the guy they brought in this Monday was CERN Basher, right? So CERN is a financial analyst from Ohio. And, if you're into Tesla and you don't know who CERN Basher is, you need to get into discovering him. And they have a show called Cyber Bulls. And this is a guy that's like 3 years ahead, because traditional financial models can't really model AI. Like it's so disruptive. It's going to grow so much that it just breaks all models and nobody gets it yet. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I don't think I am. All right. So here's a clip. It's like a minute and a half. And so one of the things they say about AI is it's going to make everything cheaper, right? Which I just showed you. You have access to all the information in the world for free to analyze it with a free online AI like Grok or Chat GPT. So eventually the value of all knowledge will go to zero, which leads you to like, why pay for a college degree for most people? Probably not a good investment. Okay. And eventually, as robotics mature, AI will bring the cost of all labor to zero as well. So it's this theory of abundance, right? With AI. So if AI can grow and create abundance, it makes everything cheaper for everyone, creates deflation, and it helps combat debt and stuff like that, right? By growing the economy. And this is the beef that Elon and Trump had, right? Like how much can we grow? We can only grow the economy so much, if the debt is growing. But all right, let's watch this little clip and then we'll tie it up and get to it.
Right. The other thing too, just before we leave this, Mando, one thing that you said sort of relates to sort of how capitalism is going to deal with this. I think we already have some examples. Think about the global telecommunication business. It used to be when you made a phone call, they measured how long you spoke for and they charged you based on the number of minutes. We got to the point now where we don't even track that. It's too cheap to meter. So what happens in a world where transportation is too cheap to meter? It's just a flat cost, however far you want to go. What happens if intelligence is too cheap to meter? Right? All these things, even food, at some point, it's just too cheap. Just walk into the store and grab as many oranges as you want. It's so cheap to make them. Don't even worry about paying. I think that's the kind of abundance I think that we're potentially headed for in lots of different areas. Does that fundamentally change capitalism? I think in many ways it does, but I think you can still have a capitalistic system on top of that for things that still aren't too cheap to meter. But a lot of the things I think that people will need to live on become too cheap to pay for. Just don't even bother. So that's sort of how I'm seeing that, and we've sort of again seen that in the telecommunications market and internet services and so on. You just pay a flat fee and you get as much as you want.
Wow. So think about that, right? Like that clip made me think about something, right? 20 years ago, I lived in Virginia, and I remember I had a cell phone, right? And within like 100-mile radius of my house, I had unlimited minutes, right? There was no data back then. It was just talk and text, and if I passed over this line, I think it was Toronto, Virginia. It was on I-64 West. I'm pretty sure it's Toronto, I think. And, once you cross that line, you got 200 minutes a month, right? Because you were roaming. And that's what cell phones were 20 years ago. Now, fast forward to today, I picked up an extra phone that I wanted to use almost as a tablet. So I call Verizon and I'm like, hey, I want to just add a data plan to this. And the guy's like, buddy, just add it as a new phone line. It's free. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you have 4 lines. They're $50 a month. If you get a 5th line, they go down to $40 a month. So, unlimited talk, text, unlimited high-speed data. Like, it's like he said, it's too cheap to meter, right? Like, so this is where AI is going, right? You're not going to get that level of analysis. And I know it's totally out of context. And if you don't know who Stern Basher is, you're probably like, Dave, what is this guy even talking about? I get it, right? But I didn't get to where I am investing in the things that I invest in by reading the same things that everybody else is reading, right? I want to find these guys that are disruptive analysts, these people that are out there that understand this at a whole level, way higher than I'll ever be, that you have direct access to, that I follow this guy on Twitter. I watch him on YouTube, right? The analysis that they bring, just like Invest Answers, all these guys, you have direct access to these people and they're giving it to you in real time. Now you take that and you think about, all right, in my life, yes, I understand. Like I had the cell phone example, right? Like that's what robotaxi is going to do for the cost of transportation. The most expensive thing that some people struggle to pay for, it's going to bring that cost to zero. That's what AI does. So what's going to happen? Somebody's going to win on that investment. Somebody's going to make that bet and win. So why can't it be you? Why can't it be me? So I don't know. Tesla's one example. There's other ones, but that's what I'm talking about, guys, right? So if you're all day, you're online and you're just trying to be right all the time, you're going to lose. You're going to be poor. But if you change your mindset and you understand that, hey, look, the world is changing rapidly. So the sources of information that I used to rely on, I can't rely on that information anymore. I need to find other things. CNBC, Bloomberg, they're selling you a subscription. There's an angle to what they're promoting. They're selling advertising. These guys, I don't even know why they do this stuff, to be honest. They're not selling anything. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not pushing a position. They're just analysts sharing, giving back, whatever. There's some benefit to them somewhere, right? But same thing that I do, so I'm inspired by that and I try to help others, so definitely go out of your comfort zone. Those 4 things will help you win. You want to find disruption, you got to find disruptive analysts, okay? Twitter, Grok/AI, TradingView account, and a YouTube. Follow the right creators, follow the right content, learn, create your vision of where you think it's going, and that'll give you the confidence to invest and not be poor. And that's it, guys. All right. Enjoy it. Beautiful day out. Life is good. No complaints. Bitcoin's just pumping away. Tesla's pumping. Good day, man. See you guys later.